everybody, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name is Leslie Vandergenst, and I'm here with one of our amazing coaches, Annie. Say hi, Annie. Hi, Annie.
It's the timing. It's not the way you tell it. It's how you work together that I find so. It's vivacious.
It is a well-oiled machine around here.
We're pumped. Annie and I are pumped because our dear friend, colleague, Jason Abrams. It's not just Jason Abrams. Jason Abrams, the chief strategy and industry officer.
Made it up. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
That is a lot to officer.
I am super excited about this title and you.
Yes.
Because generally, Jason is the interviewer. Mm-hmm. Today, he's in the hot seat, and we get to talk about you.
It's different.
Yeah?
On this side.
How is it different?
We're about to cross our 2 millionth download. And I can tell you, in all of those people that have listened, they've learned nothing about me. And if you listen to the show, you know, I never talk about me.
Course.
It's an interview show with other folks. So this is very different.
I love it. Well, we're going to get into your history because you have a fascinating journey. Mm. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership and what leadership has been for you because, I mean, you know, chief industry and strategy officer.
You must be leading someone.
It's leading something. But also, we just have a blast with you. And like, one of the reasons why Annie and I were like, we got to get Jason on is because it's going to be a good time.
Well, I'm honored to be here.
Are you?
A little. A little bit. Yeah, a little.
Good. Well, we have to start with I have to start with the very first time I met you. I had come back from maternity leave, and there's this guy walking around the office, and I was like,
you to go on maternity leave again.
Yeah. As the head of HR.
Right, that's what I mean.
This guy's walking around the office, and I'm like, Annie, who's this guy? And Annie's like, his name's Jason. I don't know. He's here.
He's here. He walks around a lot.
And I was like, okay, well, what's he doing? Like, is he an executive? What's his title? And I go on our little handy dandy worksheet, and there's your picture with no title, which I feel is just the perfect example of Jason. Pops in, no title.
Figure it out, add value.
And now chief strategy and industry officer.
Well, leadership knows no title. Like that was the whole idea, right? That if you come into an organization and because when I first started talking about the job, I was like, well, okay, well, what am I going to do, and what are you going to call me, and all the things that you would be worrying about.
Normal.
Well, I had never had.
We figured out what to call you.
Yeah, quickly. I had never had a job before working in an organization. I was an entrepreneur, and those things I thought mattered. And the guy that hired me said, "Listen, at the end of the day, leadership knows no title. People follow ideas." And people follow those who care about them. So walk around. That was literally. So I nailed it. So walk around and have your thinking on everything and own none of it. And I said, what do you mean own none of it? And he said, well, anything you try to operate or manage is going to be an epic disaster. So we can't have you involved in any of that. But you're a great thinking partner. So just help everybody think. And walk in and simply ask one question. How are you? And I was like, it seems a bit basic. And he's like, yeah, but in the world that we live in, when someone asks, how are you, most of the time they don't really care. It's done as a curt way to start a conversation. It's supposed to lead to something else. But if your whole intention is simply to find out how somebody is, it inevitably ends up with, well, what's your biggest challenge right now? And as soon as you're willing to, number one, prove that you care how somebody is, and then number two, ask what they're challenged on, and then just give of your thoughts and time, you are now leading.
I love it. Okay, so you come into Keller Williams, no title, asking how are you? What was the first thing that you felt like you were able to make an impact on?
I think Keller Williams, like a lot of companies actually, isn't unique in that most of the people that are building things there are building products that they're not ever going to use in their lives. Mm-hmm. Meaning, like, we used to talk about this, but if we made coffee, everyone would walk in and have an opinion because they'd be drinking it. And they'd say, you know, I taste the chocolate notes and there's a little coconut happening. and everyone would have an opinion. But we build products there, and most of the people aren't going to walk into someone's home and give a listing appointment or sit with a buyer and talk about their life. And so I brought a perspective that they might not have had, which is everything looks awesome until you get it out into the world and actually use it. And then it changes. And I found that the people that were most receptive to hearing what the experience for the end user were like was my people. And I was amazed at how many weren't interested.
And what do you think that was about?
I think it stemmed from two things. Number one, there has to be an element of protectionism in life, because we wake up every day and we first protect ourselves against things that could harm us, and then we find things that bring us to a higher level. So protectionism always comes first. Once you break through that, you're then going directly at somebody's self-worth, because so many people tie their self-worth to the work that they're doing. You when you think about your job, you get a lot of things from it. You get a sense of community. And that might be a community that loves what they do, but it's also easy in an organization to build a community that hates the company and hates what they do.
Yeah.
Both of those are communities. And
it's true.
And you build a sense of self-worth, which is I'm making a difference. And with any luck, you get to see the people that you're making a difference for. But at the same time you're feeling that, you have another group that's telling you, well, it's not good enough, or it's wrong, or did you think about it a different way? And these are things that happen inside of us. What everyone sees outside is the external response to the internal debate about, am I valuable and is the work I'm doing meaningful?
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, like, this is one of the things that you've always done such a good job of, is like making people feel seen and like really giving public gratitude and public praise. And that has always been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from you personally. What's that about?
I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think recognition is, if you were going to remake that Maslow's hierarchy, I think the only one missing is recognition. And everybody wants to be recognized. And I think it's really been proven out now with social media. When you think about the whole element of parasocial closeness and the fact that we feel like we're building relationships with the people that we're watching. And you look into that and you say, well, why is that? You don't really know those humans. How do they become influential? They have an innate ability to make the people that are listening feel connected and seen. And the minute that you feel connected and seen, you feel recognized. And there's two ways to recognize, right? It's either make somebody feel seen or give the outward approach that they are actually being seen. And in an organization, it's so easy. Every single day, there are an endless number of micro moments where you can make the people you work with feel seen. And it can happen one-on-one.
Or unseen.
But that's the default.
Yeah.
I believe that, I think that we miss the moments. And so when you miss them, they become unseen.
Yep.
As soon as you start to recognize them, you can change your entire organization in a very short period of time.
For sure. Have you seen that change happen?
Oh, I think I've seen it happen on an individual basis. Once it happens enough for an individual and then another individual and another individual, you'll see an organization change. But remember, there's this idea of like the culture of a company.
Right.
But I believe that the culture of the company is dictated by each individual's relationship with the company and how that company is serving them and their goals.
Totally. Right.
So it's really easy to say, well, our culture is, we're big thinkers and we value positivity and all of the buzzwords we use.
Right.
But if someone in that building isn't accomplishing their goals, doesn't feel seen, doesn't understand their accelerated career path, doesn't understand why they're doing it, hasn't moored their work to the people that it's affecting, if you asked them what the culture is and they were being honest with you, they would sound a whole lot different.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, Jason, because you're like talking about how to show up as a human to get people to be engaged and to impact the culture. When you came in to the organization in this like titleless role, and you're going in and you're engaging with people and you're saying, "What's your biggest challenge?" How did that transition into a much more official leadership role for you?
Well, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I mean, I know that like sitting here now and I can
In
talk
hindsight.
about it and I can like say, well, I did all these things. The truth was, I thought, and I was 100% certain of this, by the way, that leadership was about being the smartest, having the most to say, saying it the most articulately, and being the loudest voice in the room. And I was certain of that. And what I realized was the people that I thought were the best leaders were some of the quietest. They were the ones that asked the most questions. They were the ones that didn't necessarily sit in judgment, although they had sound judgment in their minds. But they were willing to change their opinions. And I'll never forget, there's a brilliant woman that used to work at Keller Williams. Her name was Ellen Curtis. And I interrupted her in a meeting, which was sort of my thing. I did it in almost every meeting I was in.
No.
And she said, "Don't worry, Jason. I won't let your confidence interrupt my expertise."
And that is why we love Ellen.
And I just sort of sat back, and I've never forgotten that. That has really stuck with me. And I think there's a great book on this called Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Fix It. Gentlemen, don't get triggered by the title. It's a great read. And it talks about that the very traits that we associate with leadership are actually the traits associated with poor leadership. And if we were to go back and we were to peel the onion the other way, we would look up and say, okay, leadership is actually teaching people how to think. But in order to do that, you first have to understand how they think. Why they think that. How did they come to that conclusion?
Right.
And the epiphany happens really quickly. For me, you asked the journey for me. It was when I realized that everything that I was sure I knew the answer about, there was a human who had spent an inordinate amount of time thinking about that one thing, likely for years. And so when I went in and said, oh, it's easy. You do this, this, and this. I was telling them what had been tried 4 years ago. They had been thinking about it and refining it since then. And I was about to be the next in a long line of people making the fatal mistake.
That's fascinating. I mean, when you think about, so just like I want to go back to your history and your journey and like what got you to this place where you're like, okay, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, but now I'm sitting in this room. But I want to piggyback on this idea of like learning from other peers. What about that has changed your perspective and your philosophy about leadership and about business?
I 100% that it's okay to think you know the answer. What's foolish is to walk in before anyone else has had a chance to voice their thoughts and give it. And although the vast majority of the decisions are mine to make, making them alone is the surest way to make poor decisions.
Great. Yeah.
And so I think if you have a decision to make, and let's just be candid, when you think about what leadership is, it's all about decision making. And
for sure.
And none of us are going to get them all right. We're going to try to prioritize. That's a decision. When you think about the word decision, the root word cis means to remove. So it isn't I'm going to pick the best one. It's that I'm going to remove all the others. Well, how do you do that? Especially when we're making, as a business owner, especially a small business owner, you're making hundreds of decisions every single day. And there's no way that you don't get cognitive fatigue.
Right.
So how do you do it? The answer is you let a lot of other people do a lot of great thinking. And so the way that I've always said it, at least once I had the epiphany, was if I'm talking to people that I'm working with in my organizational chart going on the downside, I say, how would you think about this and how do you think about it? What should I be thinking about? These are the questions. When I'm talking to somebody above me, I always say, I know the decision is mine to make, but I thought I'd come to you first and ask if you have any thoughts. And that allows me to own my power to make the decision. It allows me to not put off my decision-making on you if you're my boss, because that's not fair. And it allows me to get thoughts both above and below. Now I have enough to make an actual decision.
Yeah. That takes a lot of humility.
It's either humility or it's the highest form of empowerment. Because I remember thinking, because the decision is mine, I'm empowered. If you're smart, though, you only have to make a few wrong ones to realize that shit's not going to work. Like, that's no good. And then immediately you start being okay with asking people their thoughts. Now, the only danger there is you're going to make decisions that are in conflict because someone's going to say, well, I literally told you to do the opposite. But as long as everybody knows that that's going to be your process, not once, but all the time, they'll respect the decisions that you make.
You also, I think you remember Jason's stack of books. You're not afraid to say, I don't know about that thing. And I remember sitting in so many meetings where a topic would come up and I'd see your face and you had no idea what we were talking about, or you weren't an expert yet. And the next day you'd come in and be like, well, I read 3 books and I've highlighted them and here are the tabs and here's what I know now. So you definitely took in other people's expertise and you also did the work, the lonely work, to go, I got to get as smart about this as I can. So at least I have a perspective as well. That's which important. I think, we all learned at Keller Williams. That was one of the biggest lessons from Gary is somebody has done this before you. Right. And they've written it down, or, they've shared their brain somewhere. Why do I have to start from scratch and learn all the lessons by myself? So
I can't tell you how many times, and you'll both remember it, we'll be in meetings, and I'll have to stop the meeting and say, I don't know what that word means.
Right.
I'm on my, I think it's fourth. I'm on my, I carry a little book like we all do. I'm on my fourth book of just words that I had no idea what they meant. In a meeting yesterday, someone said, well, you're really eccentric. And I thought I knew what it meant, but I stopped and said, because I report to this person, and said, well, what is that? What do you think that means? And he's like, slightly bizarre. And I was like, okay, that's what I thought too. So words matter. And if you don't know what they are, you should ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I do think that takes a lot of humility. And I hear you say, like, this is about the highest level of empowerment or whatever. And at the same time, it can be really easy for somebody to be like, well, I don't know that word. I'm just going to pretend like I know and Google it later.
Yeah, I didn't know what conflate meant. That was one of the first words that I asked you. I don't know if you remember this. You said, I think you're conflating two things. And I said, well, I just take it as offensive. What does that mean, actually, when you say conflate? How could you possibly...
That is how we started our relationship.
How could you lead anybody if you're unwilling to ask the questions? Because as soon as you start asking, everyone else does.
Yeah, well, you say, how can one do such things? And I also think this is also part of the reason why you have been so successful is because you're willing to be vulnerable and you're willing to ask the question and you're willing to admit what you know and what you don't know and where your expertise is and where it's not. And I think that's really, really important. And it's a lesson.
You could have walked in the next day and just pretended you were an expert in this thing.
Yeah.
Fair.
Very well. Or you could have read the books and not told anybody. I just studied up on this last night and just, used a bunch of big words that you learned the day before.
Fakers get found out.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay, so we have to go back because I also think one of the most fascinating things about Jason is he had a TV show for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Remind me to get some stuff signed before you leave today.
So good. You and my mom still want autographs.
I mean, it's amazing because one of the things that's so amazing about you, Jason, is you're such an amazing public speaker and you're so charismatic and all of these things. And it didn't come from nowhere because you came from this
media training at HGTV.
Yeah, at HGTV doing, I believe the show was called Scoring the Deal.
Yes.
Is that right?
Still on Hulu. And not the free version. We should get into that because you have to pay to watch that show.
I mean...
Just saying.
This is the Chief Industry and Strategy Officer that we are talking about. So,
are you tracking how many do pay to?
I pay.
Yeah. Good.
So I watch me weekly.
Watch parties and things.
It's one of those shows that gets better with age. Yeah,
I believe it. I mean, it's a fascinating concept. But the concept of the show was that you were a real estate agent for top athletes,
that's
NBA
right.
players and NFL players, et cetera. And the thing that's interesting is that drove a lot of your career as a real estate agent, right? So talk about what got you into real estate in the first place. So we've had this conversation, but it is kind of a fascinating journey.
I think it was better than selling shoes. I came out of high school and so many of the skills and so many of the people listening to this might be able to relate, but the skill set that I have wasn't celebrated in academia. Like I was always being told to be quiet and think in the box.
Right.
And
sit still.
Right.
Pay attention.
Right.
Do what's told.
And do one thing for 45 minutes.
100%. Right. That's not Jason.
No, I really struggled. And it was really hard because you go all the way through and I got to this point where like I haven't had any successes. And that's really hard. So, I wasn't a gifted athlete. I certainly wasn't going to be great in school. I did look like this, which I know.
Stunner.
I know. So I had look, you have some traits that help you along the way. But I hadn't had any wins. And I was going to go sell ladies' shoes. And I was actually really excited about it. I mean, the mall, ladies.
You would be great,
right? I think I would be really good.
You would be a great shoe.
Lord and Taylor. Do you remember Lord and Taylor?
Yeah.
That was the store. And I was all set to go. And then my mother, who has always seen more in me than anyone else ever will, she said you should get a real estate license. And I was really worried about that. How would I pass the test? Well, she ended up taking the classes with me that summer. She was a teacher, so she had the summers off. And our house became Real Estate Central 101 and nailed it and got the license. And then like all business owners struggled. I didn't make any money for the first 6 months. And then I stumbled into a niche that worked for me. And I won't bore everyone with it, but it took off. And then after that took off, I had this really simple realization. The whole business was built on the idea that in every socioeconomic group, there is buyers and sellers. And in this business, then there are realtors, and there's someone always in the middle. And in different socioeconomic groups, the person in the middle changes. But I wanted to work for rich folks, which at that time I was not one. And I found out, through study, that the people in the middle were lawyers, accountants, and financial advisors. That all rich people, and you have a really wealthy audience, I'm sure, they're all business owners. I bet you all have those. And we pay them to take their advice. And so the line that I was given was, go become friends with those people and you'll never have to look for a deal. And that worked.
Nice.
And that model has served me really well. Now, you could add in professional sports agents, and that became the key to that business.
There you go. That's awesome. So real estate really took off for you, and it didn't stop there, right? Like you invested in multiple different businesses along the way, right?
I did. The athlete business took off. In 2016, I represented 29% of the first round of the NFL draft.
Nice.
In their housing needs.
What year was that?
That was 16.
2016. Okay.
We became the largest in the world at professional athletic relocations.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. Loved that business. But you find it really quickly. Every year there's a new draft class, and they get younger and you get older. And at some point, the music becomes too loud. You're like, I can't even hear myself think. And you realize, well, I used to be okay with loud music, but now I'm not. So I aged out and sold that business and opened up a coaching business. And we were coaching entrepreneurs in real estate on how to live their best lives. And that's how I ended up.
That's great. Okay. So, Annie and I, we were in corporate America, and then we transitioned into entrepreneurship. You went the opposite direction, entrepreneurship. And I would say you're still
the company's tagline, right? Is the place where entrepreneurs thrive. So it's a little different. You're not even allowed to say the word corporate at their headquarters.
Fair. So what caused you to say, I'm going to go from this place where I have control, I'm building this business, like I'm the boss, I choose who I get into business with, into a place where there's a little bit more red tape. I mean, it's not, whatever. But what caused that transition for you?
I was all by, I hadn't really thought of it like that. I think had I sat down and thought about it and made a plan and was living at that time a life by design, I probably wouldn't have fit in, because I never aspired to have a job.
Right.
But I had a relationship, and I had a relationship with the owner of the company. And I think in all of our businesses, relationships are where the real wealth is. And we all wake up every day as business owners with this challenge of, how do I build a bench of talent? And my mentor had been telling me that my whole career, you need to have a bench of talent. And I would always push back and say, well, it's easy for you to say, pal, you're rich. Like, you have 300 or 400 or at that time 1,000 employees, right? Like, you can have a bench, but I'm going to have maybe 5, 6, 7 employees at my small business. No one's sitting on the bench waiting for me to have an opening. And he said, oh man, you've missed it. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, do it like this. Make a list of all the people in your life that on a monthly or quarterly or even annual basis, you're coaching or mentoring with no expectation of getting paid. And I didn't have anyone on that list. Like, if I'm going to help you, you're going to pay me. Like, that's how I thought about it at that time. Like, I'm a mercenary. You want my help. It's got to be worth something. I've developed all these skills. You're going to pay me for it. And he said, that's different. That's your coaching business. I want you to think about your bench and the people side. And I didn't have anyone on my list. And he said, and that's the difference. Everyone that you're mentoring for free is on your bench, because at some point in their life, if you're doing a good job of it, they're going to call you. You're going to end up calling them, and they're going to say, man, I'm really at a crossroads. And by the way, the crossroads doesn't have to be something bad. It isn't, I lost my job and I'm looking. It's, man, I sold the business and exited with more money than I ever thought I was going to have. I'm a little bored. Or it's, I won the lotto. What do I do now? Or it's, the small business that I own is now on the verge of becoming a medium-sized business, and I have a funding problem. Those are the opportunities for the mentor to either look up and say, well, here, I have some money. Let me invest in the company. Or, hey, I have an opportunity. Come here. And what he said to me, I'll never forget. At the time that we were having that call, he said, this is so crazy. He said, it's possible that my world has finally gotten big enough for you and I to work together within it. I didn't even know what it meant, but it just sounded so good, right? I was like, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. In hindsight, since I was 24 years old, the owner of that business had been coaching me with no expectation of return. He had been tracking my life. He had been caring about me. He had been sending me birthday cards. He had been doing things to stay in my life. And I had been updating him on it, and it was incredibly organic. And then at the moment when it was most organic for us to end up in business with each other, we did.
Interesting. So it was about the relationship that drove you.
I'm going to say this, that past a certain amount of wealth for any of us, it will always be about the relationship that drives us.
Mm-hmm.
How perfect is it that you two are business partners?
I know.
I promise you it was because of the relationship. Because organically, you had talked about the business, you had talked about the challenges, you understand each other at an incredibly complex and deep level. You've been together through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
That's called relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so true.
And by the way, when you go and you sit in these masterminds, however your businesses are working with others, everyone you're sitting next to is either a future employee, a future business partner, or a future vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you realize that, the entire world opens. The minute you don't realize it, it's just another business trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so how has that impacted how you lead now? Because you're over several divisions inside of Keller Williams. I mean, you've got this major title, so there's a lot of visibility around it. But what is that? How has that transitioned into how you lead?
I don't know. I wish I could sit and tell you I have all the answers for that. I think whenever you hear someone being interviewed, there's a perception from whoever's listening that human has all the answers or they have it figured out. I just want to be really clear. I'm on the journey. Like I'm deeply flawed, just like all of us.
Sure.
I have all the same personal challenges that we all do. I don't have all the answers. I can tell you if I've made any one change, it's that I now keep, and my business partner, Trisha, built it for me, but I have a picture of every single person in our org chart that faces my desk. And under it, it has their name and phone number. And I know that sounds silly, but the minute you have an org chart on a sheet of paper without photos and without phone numbers, it's a corporate tool. The minute you have photos with a phone number, you now have a relationship tool. Because it's impossible for me to stare at those without caring differently.
Interesting. So when you're thinking about what is the journey that Jason is going on? So you just said, I don't have all the answers around leadership, and I'm at least going to kind of know them personally. What is your journey going to look like then? Like, just like everything else, you've read books or you've engaged with humans. Like, how does this leadership journey change for you now?
I think you had the word in leadership into journey, and I'm going to say it, if it's okay, slightly differently, which is we're all on a journey, and those of us that have chosen to be leaders have that woven into it. Meaning, I don't believe we're on our leadership journey because the best leaders are also the best followers. If you think about leadership and you close your eyes and you think about it as a circle of people holding hands, there's no beginning of that circle and there's no end. And so my journey right now is learning how to follow better.
Good answer.
Well, and a lot
it's
of
really
that,
hard to say.
The company that you're with has evolved a lot, even since, we were there during one, version of that company, and it's changed a lot. What does that look like for you to lead, but also to follow through?
I've had a lot of different
change.
bosses. I've had a lot of different change, but I've also had some real consistency. Luckily, the people that have come into the business have all subscribed to the same values. And I think when your values are there at a core level, we can all debate merits of the order of events. And we can certainly debate personalities, and we can debate all the things. If there's some core values, I have a chance. But I will tell you that I've had especially currently, like I have the opportunity to work with some brilliant people and follow a lot more. And that has completely changed my ability to lead.
So, Jason, what would you say the biggest challenge, like the biggest leadership lesson or the biggest challenge that you feel like you faced? And I would say in the corporate space, like we can talk about the entrepreneurial side, but what do you feel like has been the biggest challenge for you personally?
I think that COVID was the biggest challenge that I ever faced, and hopefully it'll be the biggest challenge I ever faced.
Yeah.
And when I say COVID, most people think I'm talking about 2020. I'm talking about the fundamental change in the way that people behave, work, and think since 2020. I still believe that COVID is affecting the way that people show up today, especially in young people. And I get the pleasure of working with a lot of young people.
Yeah, go specific. Like what specifically?
Well, the first challenge of COVID was in our world. You have, at that time, I think we were in 50 different countries. We had 180,000 associates plus another 20,000 overseas. And the immediacy of how do we hold this group together?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so easy to close the door and get lost.
Right.
So how do we hold it together? That, I think, was an incredible challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Then once COVID was in full bloom, everyone's business was dying except ours. The real estate business took off.
Right.
I mean, you saw values rise. You saw areas that had no growth all of a sudden become huge growth.
Right.
It was, okay, how do you build infrastructure immediately to support all the growth in places that hadn't grown in the last 100 years?
Mm-hmm.
And now coming out of it, it's how do you show up as a leader when people fundamentally think about the spaces they work in differently and the way they want to be supported?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's your philosophy on that?
Meet people where they are and stop trying to get them to do what you want them to do. Like the next
what
person,
a concept.
The next person who says to me, I'm really struggling with getting people back to the office, I'm going to drive off a bridge embankment. Stop struggling with that.
Truly, right?
Like, why do you need them in the office?
Yeah, you're talking about you.
Right.
Yeah.
How about you ask it a different question, which is, my people are coming to this physical location less. How do I have more impact on them from a distance?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question to ask.
There you go. Yeah.
And by the way, thank gosh, and I'm not a huge social media guy, but thank gosh for it, because it's an incredible tool by which to build relationship when you don't see somebody face to face every day.
Very true.
Well, you're becoming more of a social media guy
I was just
as
gonna
of
say,
late.
we've got to talk about this because this is
you were not a social media guy
pivot
years
for
ago.
you, Jason.
You know what? I spent some time with Gary Vee. If you don't know who that is, he's a social media personality and he's been incredibly successful. And we were sitting and we were talking, and he just said, like, what are you doing, man? Like, this is so crazy. Because an hour before that conversation, I had stood up on stage and made the pitch for social media. And for those of you that are anti-social media, like, I feel you. Like, I see you. Like, I love that, boo. But you got a problem because the world is for it. And this idea of parasocial closeness is real. And so if you want to understand the power of it, imagine an X and Y axis. And the X axis is connection, right? Make the Y axis connection. So going up and down is connection, and going the other way, that's scale. When you sit one-on-one, you're in this far upper left-hand quadrant, which is, we're going to have incredible connection, but there's no scale because it's just you and I.
Right.
But prior to social media, the only thing that offered you massive connection and scale was like the movies. That's why there were A-list celebrities or the radio. None of us could get in on that. I mean, not none of us.
HGTV.
Some of us did. None of us could. And so we were out. Now social media allows you to have unlimited scale and almost unlimited connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a business owner and you fail to realize that, I think you have the sleep mask on to the most powerful connection tool ever created.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a marketing tool. I think it's a connection tool.
It's good. It's good. So you've made this connection because you're seeing
I got
the writing
real
on the wall.
serious about it. Yeah. Look, I'm a slow adopter, but once I adopt something, I go all in. I'm really competitive. And so I interviewed everybody. I interviewed Gary Vee. I interviewed Chelsea. I interviewed everybody and came up with a model. And what you're watching is me execute it. And so in 191 posts, we've went from 0 followers to 11,220 as of today. And I'm tracking it and I care about it.
What's your handle so people can follow if they want to?
At The Real Jason Abrams.
The Real Jason Abrams.
I had to do that because Bizarro Jason Abrams is a RE/MAX agent selling houses in Las Vegas.
What?
Oh.
You're kidding.
And I tried to buy the name, but he wouldn't sell it to me.
Eccentric Jason
So I could be
Abrams.
eccentric. So I'm The Real Jason Abrams.
I love
Yeah, you
it.
are.
I love it. Okay, so Chief Industry Strategy Officer. What do you wake up every day thinking about?
Professionally.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Thank you.
I don't think what I wake up thinking about has anything to do with that title.
Okay.
So you connected the two, and that's what paused me. I was like, I wake up every day and I only think about one thing, which is how do I help the people that have chosen to work at Keller Williams maximize their potential? That's all I think about. Keller Williams is, and forget Keller Williams. Think about your company for a second. Why does your company, if you're listening to this, exist?
Right.
Why is it there?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say to make money, I would tell you that's the byproduct of why you're
100%.
there. Why are you actually there?
Mm-hmm.
And the minute that you can get moored to that, you'll probably have more success. Because that becomes an incredibly powerful tool to stay true north to where your company's going and the decisions that you make. So I wake up every day, and although we're a real estate company, the truth is we're a people development company.
Yeah.
And we wake up every day with a simple premise that in order to live your best life, you have to give your best effort to the parts of that life that matter most.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wake up thinking about every day.
What do you sense? It could be in real estate or business in general, right? What do you sense the biggest challenge that organizations, businesses, people are going to face over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the same challenges they faced for the last 100 years, which is, am I able to focus on the parts of the business that matter most? And when you take a step back and ask, well, what are those things? There's not that many. Like, number one, we have to have a brand promise. There's got to be a promise that using our product or our service actually delivers. Number two, we have to have a pro forma that, when honored, makes us the amount of money that we want to make and has value in exchange for what the consumer is willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have to have proof that it works. And that proof has to be constant and regular. Then we have to be able to market that proof in order to grow. And after that, all we have to do is make incremental changes. And every company struggles with those things in that order.
Yeah. Focus is a problem.
Yeah, you know, we sit around and you're gonna crush it in October with business planning for the next year, and then you're gonna throw that stuff in a drawer and you're gonna get caught up in the whirlwind of life again.
Yeah.
And so that's why, if you're out there navigating the world without a coach, if you wake up in the morning and this is going to sound somewhat self-serving, but it isn't. If you wake up in the morning and you're walking down the road of entrepreneurship alone, you're going to get lost.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think that's why Enzo exists.
Yeah.
Because this is a lonely journey, owning a business. Mm-hmm. Really lonely.
Truly.
And by the way, the bigger it gets, the lonelier it is for the people on the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and one of the conversations we just had was also, it's lonely for the leader, and it's also a lot of pressure for a leader to be also thinking about their humans that are on their team all day, every day, that they're going through their own lonely journey. And a lot of the companies that we work with, it's working with the team, because it's not just the leader's not the only one on that journey. Right. Everybody's going through that journey, and you don't have time to slow down every day.
No.
And think about, how's Joe doing on his journey today? You've got work to do, and you care deeply about him, and you're staring at his picture, and yet everybody needs a little bit of extra support.
Well, and even if you're the most caring person in the world, the business is going to have economic realities. Right. And at times 100%. You're going to have to shrink workforces, and you're going to have to grow different departments at the expense of others. And none of these things are easy, because there's an incredible human element. Mm-hmm. And you want to do all that on your own?
Right.
That's insane.
Right. Well, and it's complicated. And I think that's, you were talking about this earlier, Jason, that like, we've got to know the person. We have to know the details of the human. And I think that's such a true statement, in that, I think the value is, you can go into an organization, you can teach a bunch of stuff, and then you walk out, and then, like you said, they put it in a drawer, they put it in their brain drawer, whatever.
Go back
but
to
it
the
doesn't
fire.
Actually get applied, right? And so, like, what is the opportunity to dig in deeper and to lean in deeper? And that's what I'm hearing you say, is that this is about like the almost bespoke nature of, leadership, right?
That's it. It sounds airy-fairy if you're not into this sort of thing. And the high-driving, competitive, bro culture, flat-billed hat businessman out there right now is going to discount all this. But I just finished a great book on organizational psychology. And the minute that you pretend that the organization psychology matches yours is the minute you limit your growth. Because it doesn't. Mm-hmm. How you think isn't how they think.
100%.
And that's a huge blind spot for so many owners.
Yeah. So then what do you see your role in the evolution of, as Keller Williams continues to grow, in leaning into this, right? And leaning into how do we continue to understand humans as individuals, to make sure that the psychological side of things is evolving as much as the business is evolving?
Well, I get the benefit of being in the education department. So, I think that would be so difficult to answer in any other department. For me, I get to answer that question at scale. And we're going to produce education that helps real estate professionals who are just small business owners at the end of the day.
Truly.
With wild revenues. And I think the public probably doesn't realize the revenues that happen in these real estate businesses. Mm-hmm. These are big businesses.
Yeah, truly.
But they're run by entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my mission is to help them all run more perfect businesses.
Love it. What do you miss about working with us on a regular basis?
It's not,
I miss all the laughter. I had never worked in an environment where I laughed as much and felt so much joy. And the other side of that is we were laughing during implosions.
Truly.
I bet you there's a bunch of business owners out there. I'm going to say this and you're going to say, you're describing my company. We thrive in catastrophes, which is why we keep creating them. Wake up every day and I feel like a firefighter who only works with arsonists.
Yeah.
But when you work with people that you genuinely, I'm going to say the word, don't get triggered, that you genuinely love, there's a safety and a peace that you find in that workplace. And I hadn't felt that at any other time in my life.
It's real sweet. We, I think one of the things that we were so excited about having you on and being able to talk to you a little bit is because of the history, but also just you as a human, how hard you have worked to continue to develop yourself, to really nurture the relationships around you, and to be committed to this like evolution of growth. And it's like just a very special thing.
That's the journey, ladies.
Yeah.
That's it.
Closing thoughts, Annie?
No, I'm just excited. It's fun to watch from the outside now.
Well, you remember the most raw version.
It's fun to watch you. It's fun to watch the company that we were a part of.
Yeah.
It's, because there's been so much change, it's been fun to watch your journey, and you've grown a lot. Just the way that you sit in this chair today is way more leadery. That's the word.
That's a great word.
Leadery. So leadery.
No, it's been fun to watch. And
truly.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. I'm really excited for you. And I want to hear. I'd love to talk to him more.
Yeah.
There's more to learn.
Yeah, you want to come back?
Part 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do part 2 though in my studio.
Okay.
So that you can introduce your audience to our studio.
Love it. Let's go.
Does it sound good?
Yeah,
we're in.
I'm in.
Done.
All right. Well, stay tuned, people. Where can people learn more about you? No, we got your handle, but you have your Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast, which is a very popular podcast.
Yeah, it's the #1 podcast now in real estate, and we are top 10 in all small business now. We're moving up charts.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's
so good.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast comes out every Monday, and then we give you a 1-page model for the business that we're describing on Monday, written and emailed to you on Thursday, so that
Really
you can
cool.
take it, hand it directly to your administrative people and say, do this.
Love that.
And before we started recording, you were, I think it was before, it might have been on camera, that the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, we know deeply.
Right.
And it's not just a real estate book. It's a small business book.
100%.
And so Jason's podcast, while you're focused on a lot of real estate agents, I'm sure, or a lot of the interviews, so much of it are the business problems you described at the beginning. It's just...
And so much of it now, we bring in so many authors. And we've had Mel Robbins twice.
Nice.
We just had Gary Vee, which was great. We just had the 1-800-GOT JUNK guy.
Oh,
Do you know that story?
It's
like the most unbelievable. If you're going to go listen to an episode, go listen to that one, because this is a guy who's written now 7 books since taking 1-800-GOT-JUNK from $2 million to $186 million in revenue in 2.5 years. And he wrote 3 incredible of the 7. They're all great, but he wrote Meetings Suck, which is fantastic. And it's all about how to have a better meeting. But then he wrote The Secret to Your Ops Person. How do you get the best number 2 in any company?
Nice.
It's fantastic work.
I love that. Okay.
Cameron's his name. Great guy.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Millionaire Real Estate Agent podcast, not just about real estate.
There it is.
Love it. Okay. We love you.
Thanks for having me.
We're so happy you're here. Okay. And thank you guys for joining. As always, please subscribe to all platforms, and we'll see you next time.